Frank. What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Hey, we gonna party tonight or what?
Yeah, we are gonna party.
Well, where are we gonna party?
I don't know, somewhere.
Hey, we could go to the park.
Oh, no, we can't. The cops said they'd shoot us if we go back to the park.
Yeah, and I ain't in no mood to die tonight.
I like death.
Welcome to Minute 58 of Do You Want to Party, the Movies by Minute podcast for the 1985 groundbreaking horror classic, The Return of the Living Dead. I'm your host, Troy, and joining me today, freshly from his grave,
is Mitchell. I'm back to haunt your dreams again.
Welcome back, Mitchell. It's been a couple of weeks in timing of release, but in timing of recording, actually, this has been a while since you've actually recorded an episode with me. So
yeah, I kind of had a bit of a marathon for a little bit there.
Yeah,
and we decided the listeners need a little bit of a break.
Yes, exactly. All right, so this particular minute is going to start with Tina laying out the situation, and it ends with turning on the headlights. So we start in the middle of a scene. The weapon-brandished Ernie has allowed the very panicky and wet punks to enter his place of business. We pick up where the four are having a heated conversation in the foyer of the mortuary. Tina screeches out the encounter of her and her friends, what they've just come from. Ernie studies her closely with a inquisitive look on his face. Clearly his assumption about drugs in use still being in his thoughts. Spider, after having locked the door, braces himself against it, and Skez watches the man in the wine-colored jumpsuit still holding a gun as Tina finishes her description.
Spider continuing to be the hero of this film.
Exactly. Yeah. As Tina finishes her description, Ernie defiantly questions part of her story. In the background can still be heard the moans of the reanimated. Tina confirms the wide-eyed man's inquiry and mentions the position of the others. Cue scene change as Chuck and Casey are running from the cemetery entrance back towards the Uneeda warehouse. Rain still pours on them as the duo pass by the abandoned car that's not Suicide's, just near the open fence leading to the warehouse loading area. Several bodies pursue the running friends as others scatter in different directions just past the cemetery gates.
Now, okay, Uneeda is a place, because I was just looking at the sign and I'm like, crap, is it just a pun of, hey, you need this, hey, you need that?
Oh, yeah,
and
it
I
is.
looked and it's actually a place. So I'm like, okay,
yeah.
It's not just a bad pun, it's West Virginia.
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. Yeah. You need a medical supplies. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I'm annoyed at that.
Welcome to minute 53, Mitch.
Hearing it like very quickly versus seeing it on the sign, it has a different impact. And seeing it, I'm like,
true, yeah.
Oh, it is actually spelt that way. Because hearing it, there could be so many other spellings, and I don't know the United States geography very well or the company names.
Yeah.
So it could have just been a place, which it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless, that's it for me.
As the bodies scatter from, again, like I said, the opening of the cemetery gates, demands of their food source being hurled forward. Chuck stutters his footing to both glance behind and to allow Casey to advance ahead into the entrance. As they hurry past the open chain link fence, they pass through a wall of, finger quotes, rain. Turning on the gas, Chuck rushes past Casey. Now I say the finger quotes because finger quotes rain. From this sequence, if you watch, just as Casey and Chuck round that tiny little corner to go through the fence, you can see the definite wall of rain coming down at them, because all of a sudden rain starts splashing off of them all of a sudden, even though they've been running since whatever and all that sort of thing. So it's kind of, but if you look closely, you can totally see that wall of rain that they run into and all that sort of thing. So it's kind of nice to see how, well, Mr. O'Bannon, your thoughts of how well you can shoot rain really aren't that successful when you see a sequence like this.
It just sucks to film in water in
Oh
general.
no, for sure,
Yeah.
yeah. And
yeah, no, finish first.
And at night.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Turning on the gas, Chuck rushes past Casey, both of them sending up splashes of water with each hurried step. Behind them, the approaching running bodies, arms extended forward, make a wide turn in the pursuit of their fleeing meals. Again, Chuck stammers his feet as he reaches the employee entrance and pushes it open. Then, stepping back, directs Casey inside before jumping inside instantly. Cries of brains and moans getting louder. Inside, the door is slammed shut, Chuck sliding the lock into place as Casey braces her back against it. The window to the side gets populated by moving shadows of those outside. A look of shock pops on Casey's face as Chuck makes sure that the slide lock is secure. Casey questions the location of their near-naked friend.
Trash! Where's trash?
Instantly, Chuck mentions that his thoughts of the situation.
Didn't you go with them?
Only to hear Casey's perspective.
I thought she was with us!
Meanwhile, back at the mortuary, the two paramedics are outside headed back to the ambulance in yellow rain jackets, hoods pulled over their heads. One stops to look around. He asks about what audio cues his partner can make out.
Hey, do you hear that?
Like Ernie in the foyer, he questions the question.
Hear what?
The first paramedic pulls his hood slightly away to hear better, at which point they both hear the cries of distant pain from several voices. One uses the Lord's name in vain.
Christ, Jesus.
The other questions the sound as both look off into the distance.
What is that?
The one gives his opinion.
Sounds like people screaming.
The other mentions what they both should do now.
You get the stretchers. I'll get on the radio and phone this in.
Both now hustle towards the vehicle, one to the back and the other to the driver's side door. Almost simultaneously, both men open their respective doors, but we focus in on the driver. He sits down, closing the door, the view of him obstructed by the rain coating the window. He pulls back the hood and shakes excess water from his sleeves. He turns on the ignition, and as we close up on his hand to pull on the headlights of the vehicle, creepy music starts to swell. Once the button is pulled out with a click, we cut to a quick shot of a group of bodies, now lit by the ambulance, 8 or 9. Mud-covered, various forms of dress, creatures stare forward into the cab. 2 children in the front, a few women, and a make-upped gray-skinned man. Now, the visual of these characters are on the screen for just a second. They're also punctuated with a little bit of a sting of the music, but if you pause, they're not that impressive looking. Unfortunately, they are basically that. They are just people in muddy clothing with muck over their face and all that. There's one gentleman off to the very end that you can see, and that's the gray-skinned guy. He actually looks like he has a little bit of like actual makeup, like blood on his face and all that sort of thing. But again, they're badly lit. They're instantly lit from the inside. Like the one girl in the front who looks to be dressed in what could be like a First Communion outfit sort of thing.
Very Victorian.
Yeah, very Victorian, all that.
Yeah.
And again, I reiterated from when I was talking to Candace about these bodies. If she was Victorian, there's no way she would have that much flesh still left on her body.
100%.
So, yeah, exactly.
I think they're more going for the ethereal ghost-like appearance, even though they're zombies.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the guy on the far left, it looks like he's just came out of A Christmas Carol playing Scrooge.
Exactly. Yep.
Because he looks like he's wearing his like pajamas for bed, and I'm assuming it's his hair, but kind of looks like he has like a little sleeping cap on. But Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can it can sort of
Because you
look like
only
that.
see
Yeah.
like his eyebrow and a little bit down to one side, and you just see a
Hmm.
little bit of fabric over his left ear,
Yeah.
left eye,
Yeah.
which I'm assuming is hair. I like to think it's a sleeping cap.
Yeah, let's go with that. It's a sleeping cap. Yes.
Yeah.
Was he buried in a sleeping cap? Because again, these are just all the bodies from the cemetery, right? So, I mean, I
It,
guess someone could have been chosen to be
I'm
buried in there.
guessing it's actually like a gown from like a medical procedure, and instead of dressing because he was a John Doe or something, they just left him in a
Ah,
generic gown.
okay.
And I am fantasizing about a Mr. Scrooge actually dying and not redeeming himself.
All right, so you're
Um,
making up a backstory and all that. Well, I
Oh,
mean,
100%. This is going to be my prequel to this film, and we're going to have the Return of the Living Dead cinematic universe now.
okay, excellent,
Random
excellent.
zombie number 4. Yeah.
All right, so back inside, the driver, wide-eyed, looks forward at the hideous crowd of as a ghoul slides into view on the passenger side window. The driver turns towards that door as it suddenly thrusts it open, and that's where we end this minute. So, we have a nice big ramp up and all that sort of thing. It's great that we're getting into the minutia of this movie. We're now about to see how overwhelming this can be. I mean, we've seen the bodies coming out, chasing after the people and all that sort of thing, and now we're about to see in close quarters how disastrous the situation is going to get. So yeah.
I do like how this minute ends on a cliffhanger. I know it's not what the filmmaker intended. I'm more like for us dissecting the minute by minute.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
I am pleasantly, you know, I'm enjoying that.
Over on the commentary track with director and writer Dan O'Bannon and William Stout, the production designer. Dan O'Bannon talks about they never got around to shooting the exterior of the mortuary, which in the commentary track he still calls a mausoleum. Don't know why he calls it a mausoleum, but he calls it a mausoleum when he really means mortuary. And how they were going to actually use miniatures. Once we are back outside, he's excited to point out how good the rain looks with the lights in the background, and how the rain looks with the and how the depth of the rain looks better here then. Which in that initial shot, yes, that long shot of Casey and Chuck running towards camera is what he's talking about. No mention about the wall of rain that I pointed out, but we'll just go by that. But in the words of Dan O'Bannon, he mentions how the producers hated the fact that the zombies ran and how they wanted them to lumber like Frankenstein. Again, I'm pretty sure he meant to say Frankenstein's monster, but that's being pedantic and all that sort of thing. He then mentions how they always lumber and couldn't they had changed it. William Stout then points out that anyone can outrun a lumbering zombie. And when the ambulance drivers have the conversation before they split up, Dan O'Bannon mentions how he should have had them play it a little down, a little more subtle. He claims that it's a hair overstated, but how it works now. He then enjoys pointing out the pacing of the headlight sequence, and that's where we end the minute before he continues on any more about that. So.
Now, I don't know if you can correct me on this because I might not have
Yes.
my zombie history correct.
Yes.
Just doing a little Googling, and
Yes.
fast moving zombies have been a thing since 68.
Yep.
And whereas this movie came out in 85.
Mm-hmm.
So even though, yeah, some people like the shambling zombies, they're not, this is new. It's
Yeah,
not like,
well, generally stated up into like again, zombies are usually stumbling and all that sort of thing. They are shambling, they are slow moving and all that for a
sure.
great portion. And like you said, what was the movie that was out in, does it say?
Night of the Living Dead.
So Night in the Living Dead? I don't
Night
think they
of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead.
1968.
Night of the Living Dead. I don't think they did a lot of running in Night of the Living
Might have been a
Dead.
few, but there was the first examples of it. But
I
that
see,
could have
I
just
see.
been.
I gotcha.
This is again going down the pedantic road of maybe an extra ran when they were
yeah,
trying
that's
to
I see
catch
what you're
up.
getting at. I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
And now we're doing the Star Wars going back and trying to explain some production issue.
Yeah, exactly.
So it could be that.
Exactly.
It could
No,
just be that
that's more like it was.
justification.
Again, there were, I mean, it wasn't a popular thing to have running zombies. And this is a early example of what it was, but
yeah,
movies around this movie still had shambling zombies.
sure.
So that's basically what the lore is. I mean, even you get into The Walking Dead itself. It's all like a universe of shambling, slow moving, whatnot. But I mean, a slow moving horde is still a horde.
Yeah.
And
it's the ocean. It's just
exactly,
slowly
yeah,
coming
yeah.
in. But just in the inverse, the 28 series, they got some slow rage monsters. So
yeah, they did, yeah. All right, so we're going to be using the story and screenplay by Dan O'Bannon. This is the revision from October of 1983, and this is based on the story and screenplay by John Russo, Rudy Rickey, and Russell Steiner. So we're going to start off with the interior entrance foyer night rain, and we're just going to back up a little bit because we're in the middle of a conversation. We'll just set up the conversation, all that. It gets quiet, the rain is loud, but behind it can heard a chilling screeching. Ernie, chilled. What is that? Meat. It's the monsters, screaming. Ernie, what? What monsters, you say? Tina, yes. They all came out of the ground, hundreds and hundreds of them, and they came after us. Ernie, out of the ground? Tina, and our friends took off the other way, back to the warehouse, and now they're out there now. Cut to interior medical warehouse night storm. Chuck and Chasey come running across the street, pursued by corpses from the graveyard. The two run into the back door of the warehouse, yank it open, run inside, and slam it shut. Interior warehouse night. Frantically, Chuck and Casey lock the door. Corpses leer through the barred window. Casey, Dee Dee! Where's Dee Dee? Chuck, didn't she go with them? Casey, I thought she was with us. Cut to exterior, cemetery, night, storm. Now, I'm going to stop here just briefly and all that sort of thing, because the script version and the final movie version is slightly different. Now, if we talked about this when this moment actually happened, when they get separated, basically, Dee Dee, who is actually in the final version, is actually Trash, and also Meat turns out to be Spider. They just the change of the names and all that sort of thing. In the final version of the movie, this sequence is moved up. So when everyone scatters, that's when Trash meets her doom. But in the original script, Trash doesn't meet her doom until this moment. So what I'm about to read you is basically Chekhov's death fantasy. Exterior cemetery, night storm. Dee Dee is still in the cemetery, lost and alone. She runs blindly through the mud, careening off the gravestones. Her only garment, the shirt she took from Meat. Technically, she actually took it from Casey in the final version. But anyways, it's soaked and falling off of her. She stumbles and falls. And when she gets up, she's surrounded by a dozen corpses. They scream. She screams. They all crawl towards her, surrounding her, dozens of hands reaching for her. And in the driving rain, rotted, melting arms, grabbing her as she screams and pulls her down into the mud. Cut to exterior mortuary, back parking lot, rain. The two paramedics are heading to their ambulance. Paramedic number 1, hey, did you hear that? Paramedic number 2, hear what? Dimly audible through the rain comes the screams and moans of the corpses in the graveyard. Paramedic number 2, Jesus Christ. Paramedic 1, what was that? Paramedic 2, sounds like people screaming. Paramedic 1, you get the stretchers and I'll go on the radio and call us in. Paramedic 1 heads to the front of the truck. Paramedic 2 starts for the back. Paramedic 1 pulls open the driver's door and climbs into the cab. Interior, front of the ambulance, night, rain. Paramedic 1 slides in behind the wheel, dripping rain everywhere. He turns the key in the ignition, turning over the engine, and then turns on the headlights. The headlights reveal a bunch of corpses standing right in front of the ambulance, covered with mud and filth. Paramedic 1 gasps and freezes, and that's where we end that minute and all that. So it was interesting to see how when if you hadn't gotten to that episode and all that sort of thing where we were talking about Dee Dee's death, because in the movie we get Dee Dee's death. Dee Dee, why am I calling her Dee Dee? Because her name is Trash. When we get Trash's death, when I went to read the script And I asked Candace, oh my God, why am I messing up names? I asked, no, it was Candace I was in that episode with. God damn it. Wow.
I'll be
It,
honest, I knew we had the name changed from the original script in the movie, so
yeah.
I was nodding along, assuming it was the right names,
Yeah.
just because I forgot which were the script ones.
Hmm.
We're just going to blame the Mandela effect on this.
Exactly.
And
We'll do
yeah,
that. We'll do that. We'll do that.
yeah,
So yeah, so basically in the script, um, Trash meets her doom a lot later on, except for in the final movie, she's loses it. Like they compact the scene of her being the first one to go after everyone's separated instead of after everyone sort of meets up at different locations, then they lose her and all that sort of thing. So, but yeah, so it's kind of an interesting way to do that. So that moves us on to the work print comparison. Now, generally, the work print comparison is when they shoot everything that they need for the film, they compile it into one long version of it. Then they eventually dwindle it down by editing scenes and all that sort of thing to get to our final version of the movie. Now, in this particular minute, which is minute 52 to 53, in the work print comparison, we are actually at 62 minutes and 48 seconds, going to 63 minutes and 41 seconds. So technically it's a little shorter, but there's an explanation. So after Tina points out her lost friends, we cut the cut is a little longer. Instead of cutting right on Tina's words, there's a little pause and all that sort of thing as they all stand there for a bit, which is an editing sort of thing. You just keep a little scene a little longer. And in reverse, the exact same thing happens too. When we cut to Chuck and Casey, they're a little further back in their little run towards the fence. So we got a couple more seconds and all that. Um, one of the other things is nice about the work print is they actually capture the audio of what's going on at the time of filming and all that. So there is nobody groaning or yelling for brains or anything like that. So all you hear is like feet running through rain and all that sort of thing as they
yeah. It's
skirt
just the
around the corners.
basic, give the
Yeah,
idea of what they're trying
Yeah,
to go for.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as they get inside the warehouse, we then when they claim where's trash and all that sequence and all that, that's when the work print goes to the trash making her way through the graveyard by herself. We get through the whole entire sequence where she gets drowned and all that sort of thing, and then we get a blank shot of the film, which is just like a holder place marker and all that sort of thing, which usually identifies either a missing special effect or a to be shot later sequence and all that. But the one thing about this is I regrettably jumped ahead a bit because I'm trying to experience the work print as I go minute by minute. I'm a longtime fan, and the nice thing about seeing the work print as I go, I'm discovering new things about the movie, like extra scenes or extra acting and all that sort of thing, or a different angle of something, or how long an actual full shot is and all that sort of thing that got cut down later and all. So the paramedics going to the ambulance is missing. They're I kept going like ahead, and I got to the point where, spoiler alert, Ernie goes out to the ambulance later on. He discovers the one ambulance driver. So there's no sequence. So I'm thinking it either
The
was
placeholder.
the placeholder is that little sequence. So they thought they wanted to put something because the script does have
Yeah.
the sequence. I read the script that says 7, but there might be a fact that maybe this work print didn't have that version of it. There might be another work print out there that did have the sequence. Or they thought, okay, let's shoot this at a different time and all that sort of thing, and this will be our placeholder and all that sort of thing. So hence the reason why it's a little bit shorter than a minute, but it's missing like a whole entire what we talked about is like about a 20-second sequence and all that sort of thing, which is kind of weird that yeah.
Yeah, maybe they just did like kind of some pickup shots at the end when
Mhm.
some people were going to play them, the EMTs and such. Just
Yeah.
get them in for one day, just do their stuff, maybe.
Well, that was the other thing too, because a lot of the times in the final print, there is like insert shots of characters, but in the work print, it's like one full unbroken scene, like shot, like it's a full on oneer and all that sort of, and then they splice in like a good example is when Freddy and Frank are being examined. The camera is locked off in one shot, and then the paramedics do about their whole entire thing, have the conversation about Freddy being dead and all that sort of thing, about Frank and Freddy being dead and how they're not really dead because they wouldn't talk. But that's one continuous shot in the work print. But in the final print, at one point they cut to a close up of Freddy and all that sort of thing, and it's interesting how those close-ups aren't in the work print at all. They're obviously added in later, but like a whole entire sequence missing, which is, like I said, scripted, but it's kind of weird to see that it's not in the work print. So I regrettably looked ahead a little bit, which I didn't want to do, but yeah, basically the next time we see the ambulance driver is when Ernie discovers him later on. Spoiler alert. If you, I mean, again, you're listening to a podcast about a movie minute by minute. There's no way that you haven't already seen this movie, because if this is how you're experiencing this movie, please, this is a hell of a lot longer than the movie.
Yeah, this is enjoying the movie through podcast is some psychopathic stuff. Like
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I want to meet that. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I've occasionally like listened to a podcast where in one single episode they talk about a movie, like a part 7 of a series that I'm like, oh, I gave up on that, whatever, and all that sort of thing too. So I will listen to that and all that sort of thing. But
I've put on Let's Plays of games that I haven't played.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
The concept of that isn't alien, but at least in, say, the Let's Play, you're experiencing in real time as the person playing it, and a review going over at something slightly different, even if it's multi-part or essay format.
Yes.
Whereas our variant of it is a very unique style.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Your audio cut out for a second.
Like, that was me. That was me cutting out.
Okay.
All right. So that is going to bring us to the end of this particular episode. Anything you want to add to this particular minute there, Mr. Mitch?
No, I think we hit all the points and little comments. Please keep an eye out for the series. I'm producing Random Zombie number 4. That'll be we're in development right now, so give it a couple of years.
Okay, all right, excellent. Where's it going to premiere? You probably CBC Gem.
Well, we'll see, because like a couple of years with the rate the cinemas are going, who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
If you get the right backer and all that sort of thing.
Oh, God, I have to try and rent it at a cinema, and people are like, "What is that?"
You could always introduce it to the festival, the festival circuit. That'd be great. Come on, could you imagine?
It won't exist.
Well, that's true too.
No, never mind. I was gonna say it's just a networking event at that point.
That's true too.
Yeah.
All right. So on that point, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you, Mitch, for joining me for this episode. I want to thank the audience for joining along as well. Again, it's a journey that I'm glad so many people are following me on. Again, thankful to my co-hosts, Mitch, and the rest of the gang that are constantly on here. I want to thank the YouTubers that are joining in on this, because they're a pretty high number and all that sort of thing. We're coming up to our August 16th episode that we are going to be recording, hopefully live in a theater. We're going to be recording the appropriate episode number, which I believe is going to be minute 62. So we're less than 10 weeks away from that recording. We'll also be showing the actual movie Return of the Living Dead in the theater afterwards and all that. And that's something that we're hoping to get some help financially to do that. So if you want to go to if you feel that that's something you'd like to donate to or help us out with the funding and all that sort of thing, you can go to ko-fi.com /Planet Geek Pod. You can look for the actual link in our show notes, just in case I messed up anything there, because I probably did. Where you can find a place where you can donate, and any amount is very, very thankful, no matter how small it is. It's just one step closer. And anything else you need?
I was going to say, if you're not in a position to donate, make sure to like and subscribe, because those also do help.
Exactly.
it does, even though it does sound kind of cliche for people to say it,
Yeah,
it does help with the analytics and engagement
exactly.
and getting those comments.
Yeah, that share is also a good thing too. Point it
True,
out
true, true.
to like people. Come on, if you're listening to a podcast about the Return of the Living Dead, you definitely know someone else who likes the Return of the Living Dead. I mean, it's an interesting community, and thank you all that are listening in. All right, on that note, I got nothing else to say. You got anything else to say, Mitch?
I'm all good.
I think I'll leave that pause in, but so yeah,
No,
again,
yeah, cut that pause.
no, we're gonna keep all this in and all that. So I got nothing else to say myself, and unless the other thing that I usually say is, I guess, what is it that I usually say? Oh, that's right. See you next Wednesday.
You've just been listening to a Planet Geek production of Do You Want to Party? A Movies by Minute podcast of the 1985 The Return of the Living Dead. Please be sure to subscribe, download, comment, share, rate, and review. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, or Letterboxd. Search for Planet Geek Productions. X, former Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, search for Planet Geek Pod. Or send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Our closing music is provided by Night Chill. See the show notes for more details. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and farewell, fiends.
I just didn't want to move on before I point out your articulation of requested food source, or
Yes,
I
yes.
can't remember the wordage. It was very
Yep.
entry university paper
Oh, for
word
sure.
count,
For sure, yes. Yeah.
and I found it hilarious, as well as it could be on some blacklisted government documents, and
Yeah.
that way they're not specifically saying what's
For
happening.
sure, for sure. Well, I mean, just a little peek behind the curtain. The main reason I do that sort of thing is because when I edit in the audio from the actual movie and all that sort of thing, generally what I hint at what they're saying is actually said. So instead of me saying
Yeah.
they moan brains as they chase after them and all that sort of thing, I gave the description, and then when you hear the audio clip of brains, brains,
Oh,
it's sort of that's how it plays up. And
for
that's
sure. No,
yeah.
I am not saying it's a bad call. I am applauding it because it is you're avoiding redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
You're setting up a comedic phrase for the payoff of
Yep.
what does he mean by that? Oh, brains, of
Brains.
course.
Yes, exactly,
No, I'm
exactly.
just clap, clap, clap.
It's something that the further I get into this, the more it's becoming, oh, I have to make this a little more flowery than
Yeah,
I used to. Yeah, yeah.
you gotta get the thesaurus for the
Exactly,
next episode.
exactly. Oh, that should be a good idea. I should probably grab some sort of thesaurus and all that. Okay, so check Stutters's